Just look at it all.
Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're appreciating our alone time and looking forward to spending some quality time with me, myself, and I with gaming in 2024.
Got your new toy.
The Plucky Squire.
Once upon a time, there was a plucky squire named Jot.
Our first game that missed its 2023 release window, The Plucky Squire makes its Legend of Zelda inspirations no secret. But it also manages to form its own identity with its charming art style and dimension-hopping gameplay and constantly shifting mechanics. Players guide Jot through his storybook world affecting the environment with various puzzles before his entire world jumps off the page and into the bedroom of a young boy. Jot will switch between 2D to 3D with each new area, offering new gameplay styles as well as enemies to encounter. The Plucky Squire looks endlessly charming, and its ever-shifting gameplay will likely keep combat and exploration consistently engaging. We can't wait to save Jot's delightful storybook world and all of its fourth-wall-breaking magnificence.
Off the page and into adventure!
Princess Peach Showtime. Princess Peach has mostly left her damsel in distress days behind her, and over the years developed her own fan base which only grew after her inclusion in the Mario plus Rabbids series. Who knew giving Princess Peach a shotgun would make her even more iconic? With Showtime, Peach's second solo outing, the princess will be taking center stage, literally, as she simply tries to attend the theater, only for the show to be upstaged by the Wicked Grape, and Peach must break a leg before the curtains close on the show forever.
Now, it's up to Peach and the theater's guardian Stella to save the play and the day.
As she takes the spotlight, Peach will transform to match the production as Swordfighter Peach, Chef Peach, Kung Fu Peach, and those are only the ones we know of. Not only will Peach change costumes to match the show, but the gameplay will also change depending on Peach's new costumes, granting her new abilities to fight the Grape's forces determined to shut down the show. Alone in the Dark.
It's been a while since I last talked to anyone like this. Things are pretty good. For once, I got a job.
The granddaddy of horror has had a bit of an identity crisis since the 90s. Developer Pieces Interactive looks to return the franchise to its roots and filling their roster with well-known actors David Harbour and Jodie Comer, while also modernizing the gameplay. Not only will players need to investigate the unraveling horrors of Deserto Manor, but they'll also need to survive the many horrific creatures that hide in the shadows. The game also gives those looking for more of a challenge the choice to play the game old school, with no hints or clues to solve the game's numerous puzzles. The game makes great use of its Southern Gothic architecture to create a foreboding atmosphere only accentuated by the game's haunting original score. With strong performances and its cosmic horror story, Alone in the Dark could end up being one of 2024's biggest surprises.
Oh God, she knows I'm one.
Stalker 2: Heart of Chernobyl.
Dimitri and I were just discussing a certain puzzle we found in the zone, but we can't quite seem to get all the pieces to fit. Maybe you can figure it out.
Stalker 2 has had a tumultuous development, to say the least. After initially being announced a decade ago, the project went through radio silence before being revealed again in 2018, only to suffer further delays as the developer was forced to relocate due to the ongoing Russian-Ukrainian conflict. However, the developer's long-awaited sequel will finally release in 2024, and has become an even more personal project for the team amid the real-world chaos. Stalker 2 continues the exploration of the exclusion zone with the many anomalies, enemies, and factions within. Thanks to the increased graphical power, the disfigured enemies and crumbling environments have never looked more ominous, and while the gameplay itself might be more traditionally old school, the modern tweaks to the formula seamlessly blends the new with the old along with the game's more realistic game mechanics.
Didn't choose that path. Unlike you.
Sandland.
Demons belong in gloomy darkness. So, what are we doing out here under the blazing sun?
Akira Toriyama's instantly recognizable art style has been used in everything from anime such as the creator's own Dragon Ball series to the Dragon Quest games, but Sandland might be the closest adaptation to his own creation yet. The famed anime and manga artist's creation pop off the screen with a cel-shaded art style that looks like an anime come to life, full of all the outlandish characters and locations fans of Toriyama's works have come to expect. Players will traverse the expansive desert using the Uniride, which can transform to the player's needs for any given situation, as well as explore the world on foot as the fiend Prince Beelzebub, and mold not only his combat abilities to fit your playstyle, but also design your own base which can be upgraded the more citizens Beelzebub helps in the desert wasteland.
Aid him. Let humans plan will benefit us as well.
Earthblade. Celeste was a runaway hit for the developer Extremely OK Games, with its extremely emotional-driven and personal story interspersed with challenging but fair Metroidvania platforming. Earthblade looks to maintain the pitch-perfect platforming of their indie hit, but adds hack-and-slash combat along with Celeste's puzzling world design and beautiful art style. Earthblade is the game we know the least about on our list, but given how much of a wonderful surprise Celeste turned out to be, we're more than happy for Extremely OK Games to take us on another emotionally charged journey and all of its mysteries. Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2. Warhammer 40,000 has one of the most expansive and deepest lore wells to pull from, and while the series has its die-hard fans, a lot of gamers were introduced to the series with 2011 Space Marine, and have been eagerly awaiting their next chance to carve up more Tyranids with their chainsword. Given the hulking size of the Space Marines, the game nerfs their overpowered arsenal by unleashing waves upon waves of enemies for Captain Titus to cut down. The game is gorgeous, with the developer lifting the game's architecture and design straight from the tabletop game itself. If the player can peel their eyes off the scenery, they'll have several close quarters as well as long-range options to turn the battlefield into an ocean of Tyranid blood, including the aforementioned chainsword as well as firearms and brutal executions to regain health and armor. Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. The Grand Blue Fantasy franchise might not be as well known as Genshin Impact, and the developer has recently expanded the series' universe with a 2.5D fighting game, and in 2024, Relink will allow players to explore the world of Grand Blue on a scale not possible on mobile devices. Featuring real-time combat molded by the combat masters of Platinum Games, players will explore the world and recruit up to 20 companions, which can either be controlled through AI or cooperative multiplayer.
Tempest BL Ice, take you! Seize the dead! Showtime! Gale Burst!
The game's cel-shaded watercolor art style is immediately eye-catching, and perfectly reflects the anime-esque world that only accentuates the game's flashy combat combos. While the game might not break the mold of other JRPGs, not every game needs to reinvent the wheel, and fans of the genre will still find plenty to love and an expansive world to explore full of lore, side quests, and challenging boss encounters. Avowed.
People don't like you very much, do they?
Obsidian have made a name for themselves in Western RPGs with successes such as Pillars of Eternity, The Outer Worlds, and managing to out-RPG Bethesda with their masterpiece Fallout New Vegas. With the next Elder Scrolls years and years away, Avowed looks to fill the void, and while the team has made it clear the game won't be on the scale of Skyrim, fans of the developer won't be disappointed. Avowed will be set in the same universe as Obsidian's own Pillars of Eternity, and therefore won't only feature spellcasting and sword and shield combat, but also firearms to differentiate it from other first-person RPGs. While the game world won't be fully open world, players will still have plenty to explore alongside the game's numerous companion characters, which Obsidian promises will be integral to the game's narrative.
You're either here to save us, or destroy us.
Black Myth Wukong.
Bathed in blood, yet preaching peace. Oh, you immortals, pray enlighten me. What justifies your superiority?
Souls players have been eating good lately, but the hype for Black Myth, a retelling of the classic Chinese story Journey to the West by first-time developer Game Science, has been matched only by the anticipation of FromSoft's next titles. Players will guide the Monkey King through numerous highly detailed environments thanks to the newly minted Unreal Engine 5, and battle all manner of man and beast with some of the wildest creature designs in the genre. The protagonist will not only have his trusty staff and multiple attack postures, but also a selection of spells, including the ability to transform to explore the semi-open world. Despite all the footage we've seen since the game's first reveal back in 2020, we still know very little about the story, world, and what type of upgrades the players can acquire during their playthrough, but with an approaching release date, we won't have to wait much longer.
Cleanse the world with blood and grow lotuses in it. That is your destiny.
Pacific Drive. Survivalists have a wealth of options to choose from when attempting to endure the elements, but none have the same unique approach as Pacific Drive. Whereas most survival games focus on building your stronghold to defend against the enemies at the gate while maintaining your own health and resources, Pacific Drive tasks you with building your own survival machine to brave an apocalyptic disaster from the safety and comfort of your fully upgradable station wagon. Players will need to collect resources and materials so they can venture further into the exclusion zone for better gear to upgrade their ride to survive the ever-increasing dangers outside their garage. From replacing flat tires to swapping out broken parts, your best chance of making it out alive is how well you maintain your home on wheels as the world collapses around you. Stellar Blade. While we patiently wait for the next entry in the Devil May Cry series, Korean developer Shift Up is looking to fill the void with their action hack and slasher Stellar Blade. The game's refreshing futuristic environments are jaw-droppingly detailed, as well as the many characters, and the game looks to feature much of the over-the-top encounters fans of the genre have come to expect. The game's combat will not only be standard hack and slash action, but also have a focus on blocking and parrying, which will fill gauges to execute even more powerful and devastating combos against the game's many grotesque enemies. Stellar Blade was only recently confirmed for a 2024 release after missing its initial 2023 window, so hopefully we'll be seeing much more of the game very soon.
설마 이분 저건 알파 네이티브야.
Silent Hill 2.
Could she really be here, waiting for me?
Silent Hill 2 is widely regarded as one of the greatest horror games of all time, and there's very few who would argue that fact. The Silent Hill franchise has been pretty quiet for over a decade, with its last numbered entry developed by Team Silent released 20 years ago. With Konami re-entering the industry with some of its most popular IPs, Bloober Team, who has made a name for themselves with horror titles such as Layers of Fear, Observer, and The Medium, were tasked with remaking the beloved horror title. With some of the original members of the original game's development returning for the remake, and Bloober Team's commitment to maintaining the atmosphere of the original, but with numerous quality of life improvements, including to the game's combat, what we've seen definitely has us excited to return to Silent Hill, and face our nightmares all over again.
Mary?
Hades 2.
He is no mere titan. He is time itself.
As long as it's playable in 2024, it still counts. Supergiant Games had always been a consistently solid developer, but their most recent title Hades put the studio on the map in a big way. Their ever-evolving roguelike injected some much-needed innovation into the genre, and made the act of dying and retrying integral to the narrative. The game rightfully won numerous awards, and thankfully Supergiant isn't done with their version of the Underworld, as at the Game Awards in 2022, they announced a direct sequel that would follow Zagreus' sister Melanoi as she takes on the Titan Kronos to free their father Hades. While only scheduled for early access in 2024, given the team nailed the formula with the first game, we're hoping the sequel won't stay in early access nearly as long as its predecessor, and see a full release sometime before the end of the year.
Good.
Not good enough.
We can but learn. And the greatest teacher is out there.
Metal Gear Solid Delta: Snake Eater. Fans of the long-running Metal Gear Solid series had long given up on the series after creator Hideo Kojima's tumultuous exit from Konami, and while Konami is unlikely to ever let the popular IP lay dormant, there is still a lot to be excited about with the remake of Snake Eater, renamed Metal Gear Solid Delta. Faithfully rebuilt in Unreal Engine 5, the game is a one-to-one remake of what is widely regarded as the best entry in the series. Although Konami confirmed they will be reusing the 2-decade-old audio from the original, but at this time we don't know if this includes the game's iconic music or not. Fans have long been hoping for modernized remakes of many entries in the series, and with the recent release of the Master Collection, fans are even more excited for Delta, as well as hopefully more remakes in the future. Rise of the Ronin.
Those who cleave to the past, those who embrace the new, and the Ronin.
Team Ninja has carved out their own corner of the Souls-like market in recent years, but with Rise of the Ronin, the studio is looking to make their newest title a bit more approachable for general audiences. Team Ninja is also breaking from their past games by setting the game during the real-world Boshin War and giving players a fully open world to explore via horse, grappling hook, and glider, while also being able to choose sides in NPC conflicts, which can in turn affect the game's overall narrative. The game looks to scratch that Ghost of Tsushima itch many players have been looking for while anxiously waiting a sequel, along with Ninja Theory's solid combat and enemy encounters. The game will feature multiple difficulty options for newcomers, as well as Team Ninja's usual challenge for veterans, and the game's combat will offer numerous weapon options including katanas as well as firearms.
Your time has come.
Dragon's Dogma 2.
From this moment forth, thou art arisen.
While the original Dragon's Dogma might not have been a runaway success upon release, the game gained a significant cult following, and ended up being one of Capcom's surprise successes. The sequel is designed to welcome both newcomers and veterans while improving the series' combat, and introducing more political intrigue than the first game, as well as more environmental interactions, allowing for more strategy during enemy encounters. The biggest improvement comes from the series' iconic pawn system, in which AI-controlled companions accompany the player and offer hints about the world and current objectives, as well as aid the player in combat as well as traversal. Players are also given more options to completely customize their characters and pawns, as well as an open world 4 times larger than the original, which includes even more and larger enemy encounters, as well as a day-night cycle which affects enemy and NPC encounters.
The return of the Sovereign.
Senua's Saga: Hellblade 2.
Everything I've done has led me to this place.
Revealed way back in 2019, the second entry in Senua's Saga has been a long time coming, and in 2024, we're finally going to dive deep into her troubled mind once again. The first Hellblade blew everyone away with its world and deep emotional story that focused on Senua's declining mental health after the loss of her love and her struggles to let go. Ninja Theory has been taking their time to make sure every element of their much-anticipated sequel meets fans' expectations and more. The few snippets of gameplay we've seen are stunning, and looks to take full advantage of the Unreal Engine 5's increased power, as well as major improvements to the game's combat system, which was one of the few criticisms the original game had.
What will I become?
Star Wars Outlaws.
She's in here somewhere.
On second thought, I'm out.
There have been no shortage of adventures in a galaxy far, far away, and there have been recent successes like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor, as well as Squadrons. Ubisoft's galaxy-hopping adventure Star Wars Outlaws will finally give players the chance to become a scoundrel in the Star Wars universe, as Kay Vess in a galaxy-hopping adventure that takes place between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. With Uncharted-style combat and traversal, as well as vehicular combat, and the ability to go from planet surface to space combat, Outlaws could finally give fans the definitive Star Wars experience they've been waiting for. With promises of multiple planets as well as cameos from fan favorite characters, and one of the biggest heists the galaxy has ever seen, we're hoping the force is strong with this one.
That Imperial announcement wouldn't be about you, would it?
Could be.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
It's so green. Even after everything we've done to it, it's still going strong.
It may look that way, but in reality, it's barely hanging on.
The sequel to the long-awaited remake of the beloved 1997 classic, Final Fantasy VII Remake made a lot of changes that were well received, but some fans were upset with how little story the first entry in the remake trilogy managed to cover. Square Enix seems to be taking a kitchen sink approach with the sequel, as Rebirth seems to be everything fans of the original and newcomers could ask for. Not only will players finally have a massive open world to explore, they can call their own chocobo at any time to speed up traversal, and a myriad of new minigames boost the average playtime from anywhere from 40 to 100 hours for completionists. Combat and character relationships have also been refined and expanded upon. With the branching timeline established at the end of Remake, even veterans will find new surprises waiting for them as the story continues to deviate from the original classic.
You know that I killed her. So, who is she?
Well, that's enough social interaction for me today. Let us know which single-player adventure you're most excited to spend some quality alone time with down in the comments. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips for MojoPlays, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.